Welcome to Our Hen House. This is Marianne Sullivan.
And this is Jasmine Singer.
And this week we will be talking with Grace Howarth and Anastasia Bunce. Amazing, amazing women. You know, this is a different one. And I love what they're doing. They're in London and they have actually formed a vegan animal rights theater company. And they're putting on plays. This is right up your alley, isn't it?
I mean, I almost adopted them, except for the fact that they're adults and they have parents and don't need to be adopted.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how much that would add to their lives.
I know, but like literally, I love them. I want to send them, Christmas cards and like I'm not sure that that's what they need. I am obsessed with what these women are doing and how they're doing it and how successful they are at doing it. Like, wait until you hear this one. It's truly extraordinary. I am beyond excited about it.
Yeah, they're not only doing it, it's not half-assed.
Right.
It's cool and sophisticated and people actually watch it and it gets reviewed.
I know. It's fascinating. We talk a little bit about this during the interview itself, but like a lot of the way that they go about doing what they do kind of came from the limitations of the pandemic. Like you kind of had to get creative. And obviously I remember that moment because I was in this like not very good web TV show around the pandemic. And but you got to hand it to them. Like we were supposed to shoot it regular and then the pandemic happened. And so we all shot it on Zoom and like 21 people ever watched it. It was like really pathetic. But like we were doing it. And there's something to be said about just forging ahead anyway. And these women actually have an audience. They actually have mainstream people reporting on it, attending it. But there's something similar in the kind of like, we are going to forge ahead anyway mentality.
Yeah. And some people come up with really innovative ideas that have lived well beyond the pandemic. And,
yeah, exactly.
And it turned out that in certain ways, the limitations imposed by the pandemic actually helped people. That's not in most ways, there were a lot of problems, but it's really exciting to see people who dealt with those problems and got something good out of it. Every time we think we've interviewed everybody about everything, there's always something new, people doing something new and exciting.
Yeah, totally. So speaking of new and exciting, this was new and exciting for us. And I know that like we're the umpteen billionth people to talk about this week.
Yeah. And this actually, we're recording this a little ahead of time and it won't go up for a few days. But still.
We saw the eclipse.
The eclipse. Yes, we already saw it.
In Rochester, New York, we are in totality, which means we're in the exact place where the sun and the moon.
Yeah, we were in the middle of the totality, yeah. So it was over 3 minutes.
You, me, and more were just hanging out in like lounge chairs in my backyard. Like, okay, it was super cloudy. We're like, all right.
I didn't know it was going to be much of anything because it was really cloudy. And I think if you weren't in a place where there was totality, the fact that it was cloudy would have made it really a nothing burger.
Totally.
But the totality is totality regardless of whether there's clouds up there or not. All of a sudden it's night.
And it wasn't like, okay, so my colleague at WXXI, Scott Feibush, he's a giant nerd and he's been reporting on the eclipse for like in anticipation of this.
Well, it's like been the biggest thing in Rochester is a small city. There's not a lot going on. People have been talking about this eclipse for a year. Let's face it.
One of the last pieces he had go up was about how like everyone keeps talking about what it's going to look like, but nobody's really talking about what it's going to feel like. And I was very intrigued by that. And after having been through my first totality experience now, I totally get what he meant. Like there are only so many words. The atmosphere shifts. The birds get quiet.
The temperature drops like 15 degrees, like fast. The temperature just drops.
It's dark, but it's not like dark like it's dark at night. It's like a different.
No, it's different.
And I mean, like I'm getting chills thinking about it now. It was absolutely extraordinary, and it reminded me, like obviously I was sort of having one of any opportunity I have for just like looking inward and creating a contrived mystical experience. Like, sign me up, I'm in. And I was one of those people who was like, wow, we're all just like here and we're like all going through this universal experience.
Stop making fun of yourself. It's fine to have that kind of sensation.
I was entirely sober. This was,
of course, it was not an experience that required inebriation in order to appreciate it. It was very moving. It really was. And it's very hard to put into words why.
Very hard. But it did really bring something home for me about ending suffering. I mean, I know that sounds like a leap of like from A to B, but for me, it doesn't feel like a leap. Like the fact that we are all just these individuals in this exact same place with this exact same goddamn shadow over us that also fucking lifts and then they're suddenly light again is inherently hopeful and inherently beautiful and inherently magical. And I like to believe in magic. I opt in, especially when it comes to helping animals. And so I was very moved. I even wrote about it for our new Substack, which we should chat about too. Let's talk about our Substack actually, because you have an incredible couple pieces on it. So for people who don't know what Substack is, it's basically like a newsletter and a blog had a baby. And the newsletter and the blog's baby is
newsletter and a blog and there's a new social media component. So the three of them had a baby.
Yeah, it was a threesome. The threesome of them had a baby. I have one of my very good friends here are threesome, and they're going to be so excited when they hear me talking about the threesome of Substack. Anyway, so what I like about it is that it is an opt-in culture. What I mean by that is, Facebook can feel so reactive so often, like you're just scrolling or whatever. Oh, you're reacting. But you get to kind of opt into what you're following on Substack. And then you're invested. You're excited. Oh, that person I like, whether they're famous or not. Like hugely famous people have Substacks. Your neighbor probably has a Substack. Everyone who has one has something to say. And it's a good place to be able to say it. And it feels like a much safer place than, Facebook, for example.
And you don't have to have a Substack to go on Substack and enjoy Substack. It's a place where people who want to write things can write things. And you can find people who you want to follow. I have found a few people who I enjoy following and hearing what they have to say and learning about what they know about. You don't even need an account to go on. You can just go on and find somebody's writing. Or you can have an account and you don't have to write anything. You can just follow people. And then people who want to write can also set up a page and put their writings on it. So there's different ways to be on it.
And it's just we actually talked about our Substack a couple of weeks ago. So I'm sorry if we're being a little bit redundant, but I wanted to bring it up again because I loved this piece that you just came out with. I did write about the eclipse in a way that I just mentioned about how I believe that personally, I think the only fucking point of literally anything is to lessen suffering.
But there was much more to it than that. It was kind of a poetic piece.
Sort of, I guess so. I didn't really intend for it to be, but in case you don't know, like, how do I go to a Substack? It's just a website, or you can get the app. So ours is called xsandOs.substack.com, as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, EXES and OHS. So xsandOs.substack.com. If you download the Substack app, you might find that easier because then you'll just always be logged in. So anyway, Marianne wrote this piece the other day. I'm going to link to it in our show notes because I think everyone who listens to our hen house should read this. It's called, sorry, my dogs are excited about your piece.
They love it when I write.
They just are such big fans. It's called Assisted Suicide. It's just really funny timing that we're talking about the dogs barking and then we're like, it's called assisted suicide. Assisted suicide, euthanasia, and depopulation. What's in a name? These are important words, but their definitions and the policies attached to them are often scarily squishy. And it's really about the fact that there is all this information being paid to assisted suicide these days, but, you're bringing it back to the animals as you do.
Well, yeah, but a lot of it is about, the whole topic kind of interests me, and there is a lot going on with assisted suicide, more in Europe. It's not so much of an issue in this country, though, the laws do vary. But of course, for anybody who cares about animals, we're used to the idea of people being aided in dying or creatures being aided in dying, because plenty of animals get aided in dying, usually not at their own choice, actually never at their own choice. And I just find these concepts kind of bleed into each other. And I don't know. That's why I wrote it. And I just want to explain too, like, the reason we did something different and not made this part of our hen house is because some of the stuff we want to write about is about animals and some of the stuff isn't. And actually, this article is about, both. And our hen house should just be, we should stay on topic. So I just wanted to explain to people if they were wondering why we're doing something new, and it's not under the aegis of our hen house, but I do think it relates to a lot of the same topics we talk about on our hen house.
You can read anything for free in it, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's totally free. You can follow us. You can pay if you want to, but certainly not asking you to. And you can access the articles and you can comment on them. I would love it if people commented on things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Oh, and I'm going to start to play with ways to maybe post some our hen house stuff more often to it, things like that, make it a little bit more of a cross-referencing here and there. All right, well, before we get to our interview, I want to talk about something that, of course, has been huge in the news, and it is bird flu. So, Marianne.
Yeah, I don't think we can let this week go by without talking about bird flu, because it's huge and it's bad and we all know about it, but the story is definitely shifting, largely due to the work of Crystal Heath in our honor. She, of course, has been on the podcast twice, I think now. And there was an article, miraculously an article in the New York Times. Of course, there have been many articles about bird flu, but not so much about how much money the industry is making off of it. Really charming. A cruel way to control bird flu, poultry giants cull and cash in. Nice title. I mean, that title is really saying it. And the article is about the fact that, we've killed tens of millions of birds, slaughtered entire flocks. And then recently, that's the big shift in the story, they found bird flu in dairy cows in several states. And there's one person in Texas who contracted bird flu. He wasn't seriously ill, but, one would imagine this would be concerning. I actually didn't know quite this much about this, I'm ashamed to say, but now I do because of this article and because of Crystal Heath. We're paying for it. We just pay for it all. The Department of Agriculture last year paid poultry producers more than $500 million, that's of your money, for the turkeys, chickens, and egg-laying hens they were forced to kill after the flu strain H5N1 was detected on their farms. I don't know why they would actually bother controlling for bird flu if they get paid either way, which is one of the points that, our honor is trying to make. The USDA says this is a way of encouraging farms to report outbreaks quickly, because obviously they feel that if an egg farm found an outbreak that could spread to other farms and around the world and whatever, they wouldn't ever bother reporting it if they weren't paid, because that's how highly they think of people who run egg farms. I can't say I think they're wrong. And so this article points out the cullings, they love to call killing culling. That's their word for killing, is culling, are often done by turning up the heat in barns that house thousands of birds, a method that causes heat stroke and that many veterinarians and animal welfare organizations say results in unnecessary suffering. Well, it's all unnecessary, baby.
I'm going to start calling murdering martyring.
My favorite is that they call slaughterhouses plants.
Yeah.
There's just... I know it's a different word and, it's a different meaning, but it just does seem so ironic. All right. The big winners this year in this lottery, because they got lots of sick birds. And so they got a big payout, was Jenny O Turkey, which received